The first business that you started was JGAV, is that right?
No, actually, the first one was Lilo and Blue, which is a home decor store that was kind of my wife's dream, and we started that one for her, and that's how I kind of got into all this.
Really cool. And what prompted y'all to pull trigger on that?
It was really all her. Her dad was a tree farmer, grew landscape trees to be dug and then sold, and she was like doing the books for him when she was like 14. So she kind of always had this entrepreneurial bug and said that's what she wanted to do. And so we saved up our money and did that. And the kind of ironic part is, now we've learned that you don't necessarily have to save up all the money and fund the whole thing yourself. You can acquire and leverage and use debt and less money out of your pocket and get a better product. But we didn't know that yet. And so, that was the first one we started.
What has your involvement been supporting her? Is it largely on like the financial operations side or?
Yeah, I mean, I do all the taxes and that kind of thing, and then I carry the heavy stuff. It's a furniture store, so every now and then I'm out there lugging around a couch to bring in.
That's awesome. I know you've been involved with over 13 different small businesses. You've acquired some of them. You started some of them from scratch. The most recent one is Valor Peak Distillery, which I believe is out in Colorado and is a veteran-owned spirits brand. How did that come across your radar sitting in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, so it's in Longmont, Colorado, so just outside of Boulder, north of Denver. So my business partner, Calvin, and I started a company called, or a fund called Valor, or Vets in Valor Capital. And so what we do is we take veterans that are coming out of the military and transitioning into civilian life, and we work with them to buy a business that makes sense with our portfolio and makes sense with their skill set. And they become the operators after going through a pretty extensive training program. So we had an operator that actually knew the previous business. So these assets were owned by a previous business. That business went out of business. And I actually had a relationship with the auction house as well. So we had a couple different touch points there. But basically they defaulted on the loans. The bank took them over because it was the collateral for the loan from the bank. And the bank was going to auction it off. And we kind of said, hey, wait, what if we just buy all of it? What would it take? And the kind of easiest part for them and the best part for us is that those assets have to be in a bonded location. So they couldn't just take them out of the facility. So they had to continue to pay rent, which is expensive. So the longer they waited, the more expensive it would be for them. So we were able to come in at a really, really low price and say, hey, look, we'll take this off your hands. Headache is gone. And they were amenable to that. So we bought all these assets. And then several months later, in May of this year, started Valor Peak Distillery. And so we launched with a full lineup, and being able to acquire all those assets cheaply allowed us to launch with, we have gin, vodka, rum. We're going to do a really fun vodka that's a sugar beet vodka made out of sugar beets. And the sugar beets are from right in Longmont where we're at. So that'll be pretty unique. Our rum is 100% vanilla sugar. And the juice that we bought, we can't advertise this on globally because it's with a different brand, but it's a gold award winning juice. It's really, really good. We were able to we have a low rye bourbon, we have an American single malt, and then we actually have a limited release of a 20-year light whiskey. That's pretty phenomenal.
That's cool. And you hear about in the distillery space, it's pretty hard to get up and running and become successful.
Correct.
For the ones that do have to fold, what are they missing or where do they get tripped up?
The biggest thing is that a lot of these distilleries are a passion project for the distiller. Okay. So essentially somebody really loves this. And so they really love spirits in general, whiskey, bourbon, you name it. And so they build this brand, they get really good at it. They become a distiller themselves and they're really good at that piece of stuff, but they don't treat it like a business. It's a hobby and they intend to, but ultimately they're more interested in making the best juice ever possible. That's a high proof or whatever their jam is, and don't really focus on creating systems to help sell it and create systems to build a brand. And so, for instance, for us right now, our primary revenue source is not from the brand. Our primary revenue source is from a private label program that we have where we're reaching out to all these companies saying, hey, Mercedes-Benz of Denver if you buy 36 bottles of minimum, we'll put your logo on the front of the bottle and you can use that as a marketing material for. So if somebody comes and buys an expensive car, you can give them a bottle of bourbon that says Mercedes-Benz on the front, right? And we're doing that for boutique hotels. We're doing it for also whiskey groups in general. So there's lots of whiskey groups out there we're working with now that's like, hey, you're a member of the whiskey club. Here's our thing. We've talked with some festivals. And so like it's something you can buy at a festival, when you're out there in experiences. Hey, this is the Bonnaroo, whiskey or the Bonnaroo vodka or whatever. And so is that pushing our brand ahead? No, it is not. But it's creating revenue that allows us to push our brand ahead.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. And you can, to some degree, probably sidestep some of the challenges that come with all the distributor networks present in the industry.
Correct. Yeah. And look, so we are distributed in Colorado, but we were not going to go with the distributor unless they met our terms. And that's, again, a lot of these people, they think I want to get in all liquor stores. I got to go with the distributor. And likely self-distributing to begin is the best, way to go. And because we're unique in that we can open with a full lineup, which is pretty rare in this space, and at the quality that we have, we were enticing to a distributor that met a lot of terms with us so they wouldn't meet with other people. But again, it's because we're approaching this like a business, not like something that's that we really enjoy that we're going to try to make money on.
And just so that I can kind of ballpark, how much goes into the equipment if instead of buying it from an auction house, you had to go purchase everything from scratch?
So we had our like auction price evaluated at $800,000, and it was the loan that he used to get it all was $2 million. So
Oh, wow.
800K at auction, 2 million of a loan, and we bought it for 265,000.
Wow. That's a steal. So it's not cheap to get these started from the ground up. Is probably another kind of aggravating
Well,
factor. Like you treat it like a hobby, you have a lot of debt on it.
right. And you can kind of scale it, and so it's not like you have to start that large. But
Sure.
the barrier to entry is relatively high, and so you kind of get a lot of folks that have a little bit of success making it in their garage, and then they kind of upgrade, and then they don't really have the business acumen or attention to detail to be able to bring it anywhere further than that, and they take on debt in order to grow and can't pay back that debt.
Gotcha. On the distributor side, what are the key terms that you're negotiating over?
So for us, the biggest thing was we realized that this is a new industry for us. We're really good at a couple of other industries. This is not one of them. We got to learn this industry. So the last thing I want to do is get in for 5 to 7 years with a distributor, but all the distributors don't want to work with you unless you're willing to sign for 5 to 7 years, because they need to know that all the effort and time and money they're putting into you is going to be worth it for them on the back end. So it leaves us at an impasse with everybody else. And we were able to find somebody that we're on a two-year contract, but also with 90 days heads up, I can exit it for no reason, for no cause. So if we realize this was
Oh,
a
wow.
mistake, if we realize, hey, we shouldn't have done this, then in 90 days we can back out and go and try this again. And so this was a good solution for us. There's also other things such as like how quickly they pay, how many marketing dollars they're going to put behind you, and things along those lines that we were looking at. But um, ultimately we found somebody that was eager to work with us and so willing to work on some of those terms.
Gotcha. And then what goes into setting the actual sticker price on the shelf? Is that something that you're setting? Is that something that the distributor has control over?
In alcohol, there's a three-tiered system. So you can either be the distributor, you can be the end seller, or you can be the producer, but you cannot own any two of those wings. It's against the law. So for us, because we're a producer, it's actually illegal for us to set what the price will be on the shelf. But what we can do is we understand how to factor in all the costs and know what they're charging. And we can have some say in that of going, hey, look, hey, we really don't want it to go over this. And it's a communication with the distributor. And hey, really our MSRP is this. But that's why MSRP is a suggested retail price. I can't really control what the retailers sell it for. So, and particularly with our light whiskey, we had somebody right now that's selling it for about $20 more than what we would like. And there's not really a whole lot we can do about it.
Sure. Got it. And when distributors are evaluating new labels on what they want to distribute out to these end sellers, what are they typically looking for? Like, is it a gut feel? Is there an art to it? Or are they running taste runs or what?
There definitely is an art to it. They all came and they wanted to taste our stuff. They wanted to meet us. But I think really they're evaluating our ability to be able to produce at a rate that is acceptable to them. Because the biggest thing that can go, or one of the biggest things that can go wrong for them is they can get out and sell it, and then we can't produce the amount they need. Um, so they're evaluating what our production capabilities are. They're evaluating what our business acumen is. Do they think we're going to be able to stay in business? That kind of thing. Because ultimately they're putting their name behind you. They want to make sure you're going to be around. And then the third thing they're evaluating is there a story behind this brand that they can sell? You know, people don't really buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And distributors really know that. So much so that actually, our distributor, I think it's either tomorrow or Thursday, all of their sales reps are coming in. They're coming out of the field to come into our distillery, and we are doing a whole presentation to them about our story and how to sell our brand. Even though they've been out and selling it, we had to schedule it a little while out. But that way, when they go out to go sell our brand amongst the other ones, but to sell our brand, they understand who we are and what the story behind our brand is so that they can sell that story.
Very interesting. And from a team point of view, I know, so you started with these assets, you're able to kind of hit the ground running there. You're able to produce a number of different spirits all in one spot. What did the team build out look like?
So we actually rehired the two distillers that were working with the previous iteration because we thought they were really good. Um, and they are unbelievable. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. And what they made was great, and what they really didn't have was decision making power. And so we said, hey, look, we want you to be included on some of the decision making on what we're producing and why. And that has been just such a huge benefit to us because both of our distillers are really, really bright and really know what they're doing. And they've had all these ideas for years cooped up, and they're excited to share them. So, now all of a sudden we have two more voices in the room, but at the same time, they're really, really good voices. And remember, we don't know this market well, and they do. So it's helpful there. And then we have a bar, so a tasting room up front. So we have several mixologists that work part time for us, as well as a bar lead. And then we have somebody that's over sales. And the guy that's over sales, he's selling that private label program we were talking about. He's selling that. But he's also selling barrel picks, which stores will do, and also bottles, just cases direct. And even though technically selling cases is selling cases for the distributor, it's still moving product. And moving product is what gets our brand out there. It's what gets that distributor to order again from us and keep those orders flowing. And it's something that doesn't bother us at all that technically we're selling for the distributor when we're doing that.
Got it. That makes sense because you kind of need that velocity of units moving out there.
Exactly. And look, our goal is for everybody in the Colorado area, specifically hyper targeted, to know who Valor Peak Distillery is. And so the best way to do that is to get bottles in hands.
Yeah, gotcha. And when we move back to the supply chain side of things, obviously based on the spirit, there are different raw ingredients coming in. Who do you buy rye from or potatoes from or fill in the blank in Colorado?
Yeah. I mean, we have different distributors for everything, but we're very, very, and particularly our distillers are very, very picky about who. And so, for instance, the panela sugar for our rum is direct from Colombia. And so we have a company in Colombia that we're buying from the volcanic ash soil, delivering that sugar because it's a more expensive way to go about it for us. But, we really believe that that has an impact on the taste and we want to create a really solid product, right? But there's also a lot of just larger companies out there that all they do is sell raw materials for distillation. And, a lot of our yeasts and things like that we're getting from them because they've taken a lot of time to cultivate the yeast and all of that. And, the best place to buy it is from them. So we're really selective. And there's really two models you can do it. You can buy it all from these houses that kind of hold a little bit of everything that you could possibly need, or you can go really, really, direct to the source like we are with the sugar. And we do a little bit of both depending on what the thing is.
Okay, got it. And then from your vantage point, obviously you have a number of different businesses you're involved with. What are the key metrics that you're looking at when you're checking in on Valor Peak?
The biggest thing is, remember, these guys know more than I do. So we have a meeting. It was today, and I said, "Hey, in order for you to win the week, what does that look like? Give me a metric that means you won the week this week." And I'm going to text you on Friday and say, "Hey, did you win your week? Did you hit this metric?" And then we shrink that even, our managers shrink that even into the day. What do you have to do today to win the day? And so for me, I am looking at these lead measures. And I believe that as long as they get the lead measures right, then the lag measures will follow. So when I'm coming and checking in, I'm checking less on what our revenue was last week and more on did we get X, Y, and Z done? Because I know that's what our win was for the week. And I know that if we hit those metrics, the lag measures will follow. And if the lag measures aren't following, then we're going to adjust what the lead measures are. And so we're always falling back to how do you win the day? How do you win the week? How do you win the day? How do you win the week?
Got it. And that kind of brings me to my next question, which is I imagine throughout all the different businesses you're involved with, you probably have a lot of things that you would have done differently, some things that you got right the first time, and you're like, this is now a core principle of how I operate. What would you say kind of the 2 to 3 key things to get right in the early days of a small business are from your point of view?
There's really two things that I focus on when I first get into the business. And that's one, especially from acquiring the business, for the first 90 days or so, I'm not changing anything. We're not changing shit. And that's just playing across the board, unless it's like detrimental, right? But I'm going in and evaluating what are the systems that we can build and we can create to solve the goals. So I'm solving problems in my head and on paper before we're ever implementing. And so that way we can roll things out strategically. And the employees that are there are not getting, because their biggest fear when a buyer comes in is that their whole entire job, the way that they pay for their living, they make their living is going to change. And so we go in and say, hey, look, nothing's going to change for a little while. We just want to see what you're doing, how you're doing it. And in the background, we're working on all the systems that we're going to adjust down as granularly as we possibly can. So thing one, let it stay the same and then be strategic about what you implement and when, so it's not a giant overload for the employees. The next thing we do that is, again, just huge, and when we do this across all of our businesses, whether we start them, whether we buy them, doesn't matter, is everybody takes, we use the Enneagram test, but it's a personality test. All of them kind of go through like the Myers-Briggs est. It's kind of the first one to do it. Then we evaluate how people best are communicated with, how they're motivated, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And then we talk about that very openly. And we're constantly saying like, hey, don't forget that William, he's a 3, he's an achiever. So, you want to talk to him and this way, that way, right? And we communicate like that constantly so that people have it in their brain and they're thinking, okay, hey, William's an achiever. So if I go in here and have like a goal set up for him, then I'm going to get so much more out of him than, if I'm just pissed off at him because he didn't do X, Y, or Z. If there's
Sure.
something for him to reach and achieve, that's going to be better. Right. And so we teach our whole teams to communicate in that way and really kind of learn that Enneagram system. And you'd be amazed at the difference that makes. And then kind of along those same lines, we have one rule that we talk about day one when we walk in. We will always listen to anybody who has ideas. No ideas are bad ideas. And we will always listen to anybody that has problems. No problem is too small. It's okay. You can communicate it. However, if you're going to communicate a problem, I expect you to come with a solution. Now, it doesn't have to be the right solution. It doesn't even have to be the solution we go with, but it does have to be a solution.
Sure. And really kind of build that culture of ownership.
Exactly. And again, it's all about how you're getting them to think. So we're thinking about how do I communicate with my peers in a way that they can receive it, not the way that I best communicate it. And we're communicating them how to think through, okay, I have a problem. Here's a solution, and a solution oriented mindset.
That's awesome. And when you reflect on your own ambition, you've accomplished a lot. You've explored a lot of different industries and verticals. What drives you?
My family, ultimately. I grew up in a family that we were really family focused, and we got kind of drilled in that we have the opportunity to do whatever we've set our minds to, which is, again, really powerful. But business and creating wealth to the point that you don't really have to worry about bills or worry about things is not something that I ever grew up with. And, that stress was something that was always around, and really to no fault of my parents at all. I grew up with fantastic parents, but just like they wanted better for me because they both grew up very, very poor and we grew up, lower middle class. I want to do better for my kids than my parents were able to do for me. And so my driving
Sure.
factor is I have a 6 year old. We have a baby that's due in the next 30 days. And I want to set up a life for them where, they can focus on getting the skills and growing as small humans to be the most productive members of society they can be, and not be, seeing mom and dad worry about bills. That doesn't mean that we need to go on vacations all the time, but I don't want them to know what that stress is like. And the best way to do that is to eliminate that stress for us.
That's really inspiring. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Jordan. Well, it's been really cool to hear about your story, hear about how you think about small business. If folks want to come and support Valor Peak, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, so you can order online if you're in one of 46 states. There's a few states we can't ship to, but also the private label program is really cool. 36 bottles. I'll put whatever you want on the front of the bottle. Would love to support you there. You can reach me at jordan@valorpeakdistillery.com or jordan@betsandvalor.com. Either one, I'll answer. And yeah, just support us and support a new brand trying to get out there and get up off the ground and change the way that things are done around here because it's a pretty top heavy dominant industry right now.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for the time, Jordan. This has been really great.
Absolutely. Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. I've really enjoyed it.